Hi, today on Founders Go Naked, we have a very, very special guest, which is SaraSai Woods. Correct me if I'm pronouncing that
That's
incorrectly,
perfect.
SaraSai.
That's perfect. Thank you.
And I think SaraSai is so unique and special in what she does, and I really can't wait to get into this interview. I'll keep it a secret as to what she does because that would just make it more intriguing, right? So, SaraSai, please tell us about your fascinating journey into business.
Wow. Well, COVID hit me like it hit everybody else. I was in my lovely life juggling all the balls in the air that we all normally juggle. I had like 3 different types of careers. One, singing opera all over the world, standing on stages to thousands of people, hundreds of people,
Wow.
and commanding presentations and yeah, amazing traveling the world. And then another one.
We might get you to sing if we had
No,
time
you
right
won't.
now.
You won't. You can't afford me. I'm kidding. But then side by side with that, Terence, I also loved helping people. And, the world of opera is the world of ego, really. It's about status and power. And I was able to call on all of that because I was blessed with an incredible talent, God-given talent. But really, it was never about the career for me. It was always about singing love into the world. That was my inspiration. And then, before I did that, I trained as a nurse. And then I became a master coach, executive strategic coach. And I was kind of juggling all these different things. But one of the things I specialized in was helping people with cancer and helping people with end-of-life transitions. That gave me a huge insight into what life's all about and how we're wasting our time on everything that doesn't matter, on the distractions and the diversions, and all in the presumption that you're going to have a tomorrow, which I don't know a single soul on the planet who can guarantee they'll be here tomorrow or even an hour from now. But we live with this illusion. And what I experienced 30 years of this on side by side with my singing career was that people arrived at the departure gate of life, getting ready to go, and they'd run out of time and they'd run out of energy, and it was game over. And this is the high and the mighty, as well as ordinary everyday people, celebrated celebrities, VIPs. I had all manner of people from all walks of life that I was working with. And there was a commonality. When you put people in pajamas, we're all the same. And we all have our hopes and our dreams that we want to fulfill. But nobody knows when the game's going to be up. And it seemed really important to me then to help people awaken to what really matters, looking at life from a 360-degree view to see, why am I here? Was I just born to be successful? No. You have a divine purpose in this lifetime. But most people are so intent on surviving life, being able to create a career, and this has been me included, but not exclusively. We all have to do what we have to do to pay the bills, right?
Yeah.
But that can completely block you from tuning into a deeper purpose, which is calling your name and for which you were born. And people don't tune into that. They don't take the time to pay attention to that, thinking there'll be time tomorrow. So really, for me, it's all about conscious communication, because your audience and me also, I'm a speaker, I'm an author, I present programs, transformational programs, and so therefore we need presentation. But a lot of the time when people are presenting themselves, they're not actually there. There's this mask of inauthenticity, a smoke screen between you and your audience, which blocks you from being able to be okay no matter what happens. The screen behind you falls down, the microphone doesn't work, or everybody sits stony-faced looking at you and it looks like nobody likes what you're saying, but they're secretly delighted with what you're saying. We project onto our audiences who we think they are, so therefore we're not here, we're over there. We're not with them. And when you become a magnet for success, like my brand is Vocalize Communication for Success. When you become a magnet for success, you're it. You're the brand. It's not actually what you do. And everybody's so busy with the message. But what I do is I work with the messenger. So that you are home in yourself. So that you have no concerns, no fears. That you can handle any situation that life brings. That you're bulletproof in your life. That you have equanimity. And I'm not talking about doing meditation. I'm talking about really coming home to yourself in this lifetime so that you fulfill the true game of life before you go, living on purpose. So you leave without regret. And that's conscious communication for conscious living and conscious creation. It's basically a wake-up alarm call for the world. We need to wake up. Look what's happening around us. So we're, I must give you room for a word in. I'm sorry, I was off to the races.
No, I think this is like fascinating because it's kind of like those people that tell you, you meditate on your death, like Steve Jobs used to do.
Exactly.
And it's not like a negative thing because it's actually more of a, hey, wake up, you're not immortal. Like, let's face it, no one's immortal, even despite all the longevity stuff that's happening right now. Hey, maybe you might live to 150, but hey, you still will go expire one day, right?
But the thing is, we are immortal. That's the big lie. We are immortal beings.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So there's three versions of you, Terence. There's you look in the mirror and then you see Terence. Oh, and you have a name and I'm Terence, right?
Yep.
That's who you think you
guy
are.
in the mirror.
Yeah. You look and that's, you see your physique, your face, the clothes you wear, all of that kind of thing. And that's Terence. And then there's all the people in the world who know you. And they have a mental projection of who you are, which they often impose on you. And it can be like a straitjacket that you can't get out of, where you're not allowed to be anything other than the Terence they want you to be. Right? Yeah, so
like
it's
the funny guy or, the serious businessman or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, or whatever your offering is at the time. Like if you're doing this now, Terence the podcaster. And then next month it could be Terence whatever else, the businessman, And it's like...
But
and you're
that's not the real me.
No! And you're a different Terence to your parents as to your partner or to children.
Yes.
But actually there's only one of you. And if you even think, Terence, since you were a little boy, think of all the faces you've had, all the different bodies you've had. Which one is the real you?
Don't know.
None of them. They're not the real you. The real you is who you are on the inside.
Yep.
Because there's like a divine presence inside every person. And when I say divine, I'm talking about like really divine, beyond religion, but a divine truth of who we are, divine consciousness, pure love. Who we are is an embodiment of love, but do we relate to ourselves as that? Most of the time, we're just relating to ourselves as whatever our habits and sabotaging beliefs are and our limiting thoughts. This whole smorgasbord of illusionary attachments and desires that we say this is me. No, it isn't. And so I want people to be able to break out of their box, break out of the prison of the mind and be fully self-expressed. Would you believe, Terence, I was shy and introverted and self-conscious?
No, I wouldn't quite believe that, to be honest, no.
That's how I started out. But in order to have a singing career, I had to do something about that. That's what I love to help people with now, finding that inner confidence that has them shine and be free of concern, be free of all fear. And as speakers, every single person needs this, And that's the beginning of the journey, to move away. I know I'm talking a lot, sorry, but I'm on a run now. I'm on a roll.
Yeah, go for it.
To move away from who you think you have to be, to win the prize, to get the client, to be successful, to get approval, to not be judged, to not be criticized, to not be annihilated. Often when people are speaking, it's about like survival. And I have to say, this is like something you can learn. I remember, I'm in London, and when I first came to London, I was coming to music college. I remember I used to sit on the underground tube trains, and I was terrified somebody would look at me and I would blush. I'd be embarrassed. That's how shy I was.
Wow.
Yeah. And how could you have a career singing or standing on a stage, being center? I was the leading lady, the diva. So how can you have all that focus on you if you're cringing at the thought anyone's looking at you? So we've got to go beyond ourselves to be ourselves. I mean, do you see any of this relating to you? Any kind of playing small, any holding yourself back? Any fears, roadblocks, anything like that?
Yeah, I was just thinking like a few things that came to mind when you were saying all this stuff was that, okay, a lot of the way that I personally act out in my business life and my personal life is I think it's from like a lot of fears and failures that have happened in the past that prevents me from actually going there again. And subconsciously I'm avoiding that at all costs. But sometimes I feel I need to go back there, but it's too scary because it's like there's all these emotions attached to it, which most times I'm not even aware of. That's the issue, I think.
Listen, I really applaud you for actually being willing to say that, especially on camera. But to me, that's a courageous act because you're being authentic. And that's where power lies, in being authentic. But what I would say to you is, this is what I love about this work. Do you want to get out of prison? Do you want to get out of the prison of the mind? Yeah?
Yeah. Let's get out of the matrix.
Exactly. But it's basically you got three minds. What am I saying? Three voices. You got the voice in your head. That's what you were just talking about. So this one is like, I call it the grimy gremlins or scary saboteurs, right? This running commentary telling you you're not good enough, you look awful, you sound awful, nobody wants to listen to you, all of the things we say to ourselves. You're a failure, no clients are going to come, all of this. That's thoughts, sabotaging thoughts. But if you give them the microphone, they run the show. So you're not even there, you're not even communicating with anyone then, they are. And so it's not that difficult. What you need is to get in touch with the voice, your inner voice, your divine compass, the voice of truth inside you, which is the observer of those thoughts. If you think, who notices that you have those thoughts? Once you can detach a little bit from the thoughts and see these are like passing clouds. Imagine you are the sky and the clouds are going by, the thoughts are going by, and this is not a new concept. But actually people find it hard to gain access to that part of themselves because it's so all permeating, these sabotaging, wrongful beliefs and limiting ideas. And I go into a sort of deep level, but a deep level of empowerment, because you need to just detach from all that's stopping you. And the way to do that is to give voice to your heart. And being authentic means being willing to face yourself in the mirror. But one of the things that I think you're a little afraid of is where that's going to lead you. And a lot of people are worried about past traumas, which they've squashed down. And when I say traumas, I mean just things that didn't work out, things that you decided were not safe. It wasn't safe for you to be you. It wasn't safe. That's it. Being you was not safe in some way. And so you had to be another version of you that was going to be accepted and appreciated and loved. And that's what we do. That's the game. But that's a lie, and that's basically evidence we gathered from childhood. Something happens and we gather evidence, that this is the truth, and then we relate to it as the truth. And so you simply need to reframe that truth in an empowering context. So that's kind of what we do. When you also have somebody like me who is a conscious presence, listening to that, all it takes is one time to be seen and heard and known, and it's done. Because you're taking the sting out of the venom out of the snake, the sting out of the tail. And this is what I really felt, Terence. Many people left the body. I was there with hundreds and hundreds of people as they transitioned. And many of them had never felt seen or heard by anyone for their entire lives. But it's impossible to be if you're wearing this mask of pretense. And the culture of cool has forced us into this. All this cool kind of attitude. Why do you think there's so much suicide in young people? They're so busy trying to hold up the pretense of the perfect life, which social media, let's not blame social media, it's the way we use it. But then we get locked into the prison of our own perceptions. And people literally leave the body. They take their life because they can't see a way forward. You can see, Terence, I'm really sorry, but I'm passionate about this because I believe we were born to remember and to awaken. And I see that as my job, to help people.
So SaraSai, you have helped hundreds of people transition from this life to, wherever it is. The other thing is I'm curious because you had so much experience and you had all these people basically transition, and through that you saw that, hey, if only they had found their true voice, communicated with their true self, life could have been so much different. And I'm just curious, some of your clients that have worked with you and have gone through that transition and found a true voice, how has it impacted them in their lives and in their businesses? I'm just curious if you got some examples there.
Sure. So because I'm a master of voice, I help people on a vocal level as well as on a level of communication. Listen, every time you open your mouth to speak, you are communicating who you are. And if your voice, for example, if you haven't claimed your own voice, if you haven't fully embodied the sound, then there's a part of you missing. You're not fully present. You can't be present because you're kind of keeping a lid on a part of you that you feel is not acceptable. So I start with helping people bypass their sabotaging beliefs. How I do that is I use the voice as the portal to bypass so that they're out of the way. So I'm speaking to their subconscious, remember as young children, we all started out full of excitement and hope and possibility and being present. We had it all. We had everything. And then all of these heavy beliefs and problems kind of got loaded up. It's like we got programmed with all this other stuff. But we have that inner truth ready to be accessed. So that's what I do. Even in one session, in one breakthrough call, I access. I'm not going to tell you how I do it. But I bypass everything that you're not to have you feel the presence of everything that you are. And then the value of the work I do. Because it's like a remembering, a reclaiming of yourself. If you don't have yourself, how are you going to live your life? So with my clients, for example, you asked me, let me just answer your question. So it's like they plug in and they think, oh my God, I never realized how much this was affecting my results. All communication affects every single relationship you have, all the results you get in your life. Everything you experience in your external reality is because of your communication. And so you have to start with how you communicate with yourself. So a lot of people, I don't even need to say anything. It all just comes out because people trust me on the deepest level. They know my heart is there to serve them. And so they know it's a safe space. And everything that's incomplete kind of shows up and is very swiftly put aside. Because when you reframe it in a way that gives them wings, it's no longer an issue. So then they're really ready to step into their power. So I've worked with families even. One woman sent me 2 of her nearly grown-up young adult children who were going through a really tough time but hadn't got a vision for their lives that was strong enough to keep them away from all the problems that they were experiencing in the culture for young people. You know, suicidal ideation is a big deal these days. And, you know, a lot of kids don't know, especially post-COVID, they don't know what life they can have. Our guarantees have been taken away. It's like our life insurance policy is a waste. You know, we don't know what we can rely on. So it's never been more urgent than for people to plug into their possibility and their power and their potential. So for me, if you're not doing that, you're wasting your life. You need to be living consciously. Then you can choose from what fires you up. So I have many, many people. I mean, you know, I talked with you about my time with people with cancer and end-of-life transitions. I have those skills. But I work with entrepreneurs and leaders and speakers because they are the visionaries of our world now. They are the people who can paint the picture for others to follow. But they must be home for them to claim their full power. And then they will be the magnet that allows others to be elevated by their gifts. So I'm feeling, Terence, like you asked one question and I'm gone. A big, long.
That's
Please
okay,
don't
it's okay. I find it fascinating. So, I mean, it sounds to me, it's kind of like we all have that like divine spark in us, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, as we grow up, people say, oh, you can't do that or you hurt yourself. And so it's like throwing a blanket over it. And then someone else smacks you in the face and says, oh, no, you shouldn't do that. And you get thrown another blanket over it. You get into business failure, you get rejected, more blankets are thrown over it, and eventually you can't see the spark.
Yeah, that's right.
And then that's where you need to work, or that's how you come in and work with people to remove those blankets, to reveal that spark again.
Yeah, it's actually just plugging you into you. So it's like if you're listening to external voices, you're giving your power away. You need to be listening to your internal voice. But to do that, you need to plug into you. You need to hear your own inner being speaking. So it's a paradigm shift because the world is kind of making us look out. You know, there's so much noise. In a way, our consciousness is being bombarded with endless information to basically seduce us into paying attention in a way that this fear of missing out, that if we don't watch this and we don't watch that, we could miss out on something that will be the thing that gets us to success. And it's a game, and it's not in our favor. All answers lie within you, and you know what? Your voice will tell me everything you need to know, because you have the answers in you, but you're not taking the time to prioritize you. So it's like trying to fix life instead of coming home. And when you're home, the sky's the limit. All doors are opened. You know. Right.
So it's kind of like, instead of like seeking more knowledge, more tactics, more strategies, we should also be spending more time, or maybe we should be first spending more time coming home.
Absolutely.
And then we can go out and add more to it. Yeah, because look, you know, if somebody's speaking, presence is the only thing that's going to command the presence of the listeners. So you have to be present moment by moment. So how present can you be? Like, if you really pay attention to that, I'd invite your listeners, just pay attention. You know, most of the time we're just rehashing the same old thoughts, bombarding ourselves with these voices of denial, telling us we can't. And, you know, positive thinking is good, but it's not good enough.
You actually need to go deeper than positive thinking, because positive thinking is still related to thought. And you want to be bypassing thought, where actually there's nobody talking anymore. You are the consciousness that allows the wisdom to be communicated. You are no longer identified with a separate self. You are here in service. You are plugged into God's voice within you. Because every single soul on the planet, every being has that divine consciousness. And nobody is excluded. And you know, another thing in our culture nowadays, I think a lot of people feel that we're all supposed to be extroverted. And the winners of the world are usually extroverts. I think we're entering into the era of the liberated introvert.
So what's the difference between an introvert and a liberated introvert?
So liberated introvert basically is fully present. Doesn't have to be anything they are not. Doesn't have to do, if you look at any of these big shows that are, I'm not going to name any names, but there's so much rah, yeah, let's get up and dance, yeah, all of this kind of thing. All the introverts want to run away kicking and screaming from all of that. There's such a space for people to just be consciously present without, all of that is an effort, really. It's an effort to fix something, which is the idea that if you don't do that, nobody will listen, or nobody will feel the impact of your presentation. I know one of the things you wanted to talk about is the challenges. I think the biggest challenge is how to be yourself, and that's been my life's work. You know, when I started out my very first singing competition, I'd never sung on stage. I'd never sung in public. And there were 41 little girls all singing the same song. It was called June by Roger Quilter. And there I was. Now the thing is, I was a foot taller than everyone else. I was so embarrassed with myself, so self-conscious. I was so shy. And there I was put onto a stage and told to sing, right? And my mother was sitting in the audience and she was listening to 41 renditions of the same song. Long story short, I got second prize. I got the silver medal. But the guy who was giving the prizes, what do they call them? The guy who was adjudicator. The adjudicator basically said, he spoke at length about me. By far she has the greatest talent, the greatest potential. But I have to give the mark. So the one who got the gold medal, she was all girly-whirly. She was like all sweetness and light and smiles and dancing, you know, this kind of energy. And I was cringing. I know most people who are introverted can relate to that, like I wanted to run away. But I loved singing. And when I came off stage, my mom said to me, "You should have got first place. Why can't you just be yourself?" And I took that to mean, as we all do, oh, I failed. I missed the prize. I need to be something other than how I am to get the prize. I spent a whole long time on that journey, trying to be like everyone I know can relate to this, I bet, quietly. In the corners of your mind, you have a story like this, where, you know, you started reinventing yourself as, you know, the better version of you, the censored version of you that's going to be successful. It didn't work. And I was blessed with so much talent, and I had success, but though I was not being true to myself entirely until I went through the process of awakening to the gift of pure presence, no longer going out to meet the world, but inviting the world in to meet me. And I realized that what my mom was saying is, I know who you are. I know your greatness. You know, our parents, we interpret the lines. Most people have, you know, things that they remember their parents saying at some point in their life that maybe had them feel diminished or retract a little bit. But when I'm talking about reframing, when you reframe that within a spiritual context, you see how those words of wisdom are our greatest gifts of awakening. My mother knew who I really was, the joy that I am, the pure love that I am, and she was wondering why I was not letting people see that. But it's part of going through life that you have these evaluations as you're going along. We all do. So reframing gives people freedom. Reframing whatever happened in a way that you see a deeper truth within it that maybe you hadn't spotted before, that has you see your life in an entirely different context. And you talk about the world we're living in now and the importance of getting out of the matrix. The matrix doesn't exist. There is no matrix. It doesn't exist unless we give it reality. All there is the opportunity to be present or to be absent. And if we buy into it, then we are buying into a belief that there is a matrix. But when you're plugged into your true self, nothing exists. Only God's plan. Only divine reality. And so
let's talk about that a bit, SaraSai, because I think you mentioned a few times that you got to find your purpose or your divine purpose. So is there one purpose for everyone, or are there multiple purposes? And what happens if you miss your purpose?
If you miss your purpose, you don't graduate from the class and you come back again to take your same class. That's how we stay in the birth-death continuum, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it.
So, there is one purpose, and the purpose is to remember who we are as divine embodiments of love. Yeah, we are divine. That's not just that's it. That's everything.
Okay, so it's not like, I'm supposed to be a scientist in this life, or I'm supposed to have 10 children in this life, or whatever.
No,
that is not it.
No.
It's not a doing.
Yeah. So there is a doing aspect to this life. The huge purpose, the unique and sole purpose for all is awakening to the truth of who we are. But then the individual purpose, because you're in that individual body, labeled as Terence, so you are a soul with a past and potentially a future, but definitely a past incarnations, past lifetimes, whereby the laws of cause and effect, you took certain actions which might have been a plus for you and certain actions which might have been a minus. And so there can be a debt from previous lifetimes that you came to pay in this lifetime. And that can cause the circumstances and the tendencies in your personality, which, as long as you're identifying as being Terence, you're acting out the personality. So you're still identified with that limited self. Make sense? You following me?
Somewhat, yeah. It's kind of deep, yeah.
It is deep.
I follow you somewhat, yeah.
So if you think I'm not this body, I'm not this mind, it's part of who you are, but it's not the essence of who you are. And the essence of who you are, look, when you leave when you go to sleep at night, your body's in the bed, but you're off traveling. You're not, right? Yeah. Which basically is a rehearsal for death, and people don't realize it. That's what death is. You just leave the body, but you don't come back. So all the terror about death is like an illusion itself. You can't die because you weren't even born. Your divine consciousness having a temporary experience in a physical body to play the part of Terence. So you want to be the best Terence you can be, but ultimately you want to transcend being Terence and play being God, ultimately. Practice detaching. But Terence, as long as you are playing the part of Terence, you maybe have some goals and some desires. But from the worldly perspective, my advice to people is reduce your desires, reduce your goals, because they trap you in what you believe to be the matrix. They keep you chasing your tail where you cannot be present, because you're always future-based, trying to get somewhere else other than here. Yeah? Like, what if being here now was all there is, and it was good, and it was perfect?
That sounds pretty cool.
Doesn't it? And it is cool. Yeah. Like, what if we never had to worry about making a mistake? What if mistakes were divine? What if all the things we thought were wrong turns and errors were perfectly choreographed for our benefit? And that is the truth of how it is. Nothing ever goes wrong.
Yeah.
I know this is deep. So we're kind of veering away from maybe what most people might be interested in, which is how I can help them. So really it starts with your voice. Claiming your voice is like claiming yourself. And then you begin the journey of self-development, self-awakening, self-evaluation. And then according to your commitment, this is you're really finally on the real track of life, playing the proper game,
Right. Because I think one thing comes to mind, like SaraSai, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of people will kind of like chase their dreams, but that is not necessarily what your divine self wants or needs. And it's kind of like at the end of it, you don't feel that, even though you might have millions of dollars, you might have the fancy cars and everything, but you don't feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
Is that what we're saying here?
So thinking that you have to create anything to be enough is the seduction. And a lot of that is the ego, the mind telling you you're not enough, and so you need to prove you're enough with these fancy cars and the big houses and all of that. So a lot of people are trapped in that. Yeah. I'm not against any of that. I think, great, we love all those things. There's no problem with any of that. Yes. Just don't let it be what drives you. So when you're making conscious choices from presence and from knowing who you are, you're in the perfect place then to magnetically draw all of these things to you. You don't have to do the donkey work in the way you would have. Because you are now a higher vibration.
It's kind of like you're attracting it.
Yeah, you're the higher vibration causing it through conscious creation.
Right.
Yeah?
Right.
So there's nothing wrong with any of that.
You're not... Yeah, it's not like you have to like basically sacrifice your health, your sleep and everything to achieve it.
Yeah.
Because this comes with so much more ease and flow. So it's like a kind of like a shortcut in a way.
It is. Yeah. But it's a shortcut where you're going to get to your destination. If you think you get on a train, why? Because you want to get somewhere. But nobody's guaranteeing in this life that you're going to arrive at your destination. You may have to drop off at the second station. And you thought you had another 6 stations to go before you get there. And it's like, sorry, game over. You got to go back at the beginning again. And it's like, that's frustrating. I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
I want to finish the game in this lifetime. And this is the golden opportunity in this life. We're at such an exciting time in the world. People are talking about doom and gloom. There's never been a better time to create consciously than now, when the contrast in our world is so ferocious. It's so in our faces that if we don't start being conscious creators, how on earth are we going to live in the world we want to live in? We have to become visionary leaders. And so, anyone works with me, this is what's really going on. Like getting into the driving seat of life through conscious intention. So I think it's the most exciting possibility. I don't know anyone who wouldn't want to live this way. Anyone. Like even Steve Jobs, when I think he was, do you remember his deathbed? He made some speech. I wish I could remember it now. But he was digging deeper into spiritual awareness as well. He used to carry the book, The Autobiography of a Yoga, by Paramahansa Yogananda with him everywhere. He'd never go anywhere without it. So he knew there was more. And I think we should be demanding more for ourselves than just the frills and the tinsel trivialities of life, which is the seduction. Basically a lot of people, if you think, what is it you really want? Say you work really, really hard all week and you want some things to treat yourself at the end. What do we think of? We think of alcohol. Some people think of drugs. Some people think of having a great time with their partner. So, some people want to binge on Netflix. These are all the things, or some people just will have a whole load of food. These are all the things that kind of anesthetize us from life. Or games, all these virtual games that people play.
Yeah.
Or, speed dating or whatever it is. It's all basically to distract us and also to comfort us from having to live so separate from ourselves. That's the real loneliness of life now. People are living lonely lives, pretending like, on Facebook or wherever else, pretending to have an amazing life, and then they go home to the reality of their internal experience, which doesn't reflect what they're putting out, And so there's a lot of silent resignation that people are not being honest with themselves about the value of life. And I want people to be excited, inspired. For me, it's about living an inspired life. That's the opportunity in this lifetime to live an inspired life, free from concern and regret. So that when your number is up, it's like, wow, I had a great time, but I achieved what I came for, Yeah.
So, SaraSai, I'm curious. So, how can people, first of all, how do you help people live that inspired life? Number one, and number two, if they so desire, how can they reach out to you?
Okay, so let me show you this. Here we go. You see up on top here?
Yep.
They can click on a link. That's the link, basically. They click on a link. What I love to do is I love to listen to people. I love to just have a one-off session to start. A lot of people say people need to know, like, and trust you. For me, people trust me straight away, because when somebody's authentic, that is a safe space and you can feel it. So I provide a safe space.
I can feel it myself, yeah.
Yeah?
I can feel it straight away.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel it with you as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks.
So, it's just us getting into a Zoom room together. 60 minutes. What would it be like if you have like a voice master who has used their voice to seduce hundreds of thousands of people all over the world with my singing, and then I was doing some speaking as well, to give you an evaluation, a professional evaluation of your voice, how your voice can work for you, how your voice can be a magnet. There needs to be love in your voice. Your voice is unique to you, and people take it for granted. They never examine how they can use their voice to create their brand and to create their authority and positioning. So we do that. I have, you've heard of IQ, intelligence quotient?
IQ, yeah, of course.
And you've heard of EQ?
Yes.
Emotional quotient? Well, I've created CQ, communication quotient. So you see,
I like that.
You see my book here, Communication for Success. How to unlock the roadblocks in your life to transform all relationships, results, and rewards. It's basically giving people the secret keys to the kingdom of communication. So in that 1 hour, I listen to their voice, I give them professional feedback. For example, many people who have accents may feel that the accent sometimes isn't working in their favor. And just like actors and public speakers and politicians sometimes attune their accents or their speaking for more impact, I can help your accent work for you. So I have ways of doing that without changing anything about the accent, just tools and tricks that can really have no roadblocks between you and your audience. And so I give people the 60 minutes and then 15 minutes for Q&A, and then they get access to this free book, The 9 High C's, The Golden Keys for Successful Communication. and that's an audiobook as well. And then some basic warm-up exercises for the voice, and that's all included in my breakthrough call. So that's the best way for people to reach me right now. I'm putting other things together. I really want to give a lot of great value to people, but the most value is in our meeting, because everybody is unique and individual and has their own hang-ups and their own issues. And like, we just immediately zoom in on anything that's in your way, so you're free. And then you've got a roadmap of how to present yourself more authentically and to be yourself, free from all concern.
Sounds wonderful. Who would benefit most from this? Would it be like business owners, like leaders, salespeople?
Any entrepreneur, anyone who's up to big things, basically. Entrepreneurs, leaders, speakers. But I don't like to exclude anyone who feels called to this. Because when I say we are the magnet, there's a certain vibration that is a yes, a certain awareness and readiness that has people be a yes. So anybody who feels that there's anything blocking them from shining their light in the world, from fulfilling their highest mission, I'd love to meet them.
All right, so you got it, guys. Make sure you sign up for this wonderful opportunity.
Thanks, Terence.
Well, SaraSai, that was such a great time speaking with you. I felt we could have talked another 1 hour, but we have to cut it off, unfortunately.
It's
but
okay.
I will definitely book myself in too, because that sounds like a great opportunity to learn more about you and myself. Yeah, because what we would do in a one-on-one session would be just really, I would be listening to you, and a safe space for you to just be confidential. You know, a lot of people have things that are in the way and they can't really speak about them to their friends, and they don't want it recorded. And when you have a position of leadership, you don't want anybody thinking you're not the leader. So you need a sounding board, a confidential space where, you know, anything that's there will come up. And it's fun, it's magical. And I think you'll really enjoy it. But you know what? You could do that, and we could do an after interview. That'd be fun. Yeah. That would be cool. Yeah. That's an idea. SaraSai, that was just super awesome. Thank you so much again for being on this podcast. And guys, really take advantage of the offer. And SaraSai, thank you.
Thanks so much, Terence. Long story short, I'm from Dublin and one of 7 children, and I came over to London to go to music college, having already trained as a nurse. But I always sang.
Interesting.
So I trained 4 years undergraduate and then 2 years postgraduate to sing opera, and I've sung all over the world.
Wow.
But then side by side with that, I loved helping people and specialized in helping people with cancer and people with end-of-life transitions. So they're getting ready to go and looking at unfinished business, regrets, unfulfilled dreams, all that kind of thing. But how to go with completion, how to go leave the body where you're not leaving a legacy of grief behind with all the broken relationships and unsaid, undelivered communications, all that kind of thing. Anyway,
that's cool.
So I did all of those things, and then COVID came. So I was juggling both of those. I trained as a master coach, executive strategic coach and success coach, all kinds of, out of pure love for it. And because I was a performer, I've been a performer, used to being on stages, used to singing to thousands of people. And so I had lots of skills in voice production and presentation, all that kind of thing. But it came to COVID and it all fell down. Everything disappeared because we all had to stay at home. Then I started a new business, never having done business before. but kind of thinking, what can I
Okay.
do? And I wrote a book. Here's my book. Can you see that?
The
Angel of Life.
Angel of Life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Discover the hidden secrets of living and dying well. So this is a book, a global
Nice.
wake-up alarm call for a sleeping world. We're in a sleeping world. Everyone is
Right,
so
so
busy.
kind of like the Matrix kind of thing.
Yeah, but everybody's in distraction mode. And
Yeah.
what
absolutely.
I learned with literally thousands of people, but with their families, hundreds of people leaving the body, just like that, it's all over. The game is over. And most people aren't ready.
Yeah.
And they're like, they arrive at the departure gate, when they've run out of energy, they've run out of steam, and they've no time left. And then they kind of wake up, what was I doing with my life? What on earth did I waste my life on? Because you're born for a particular purpose. So my work is about plugging people into their divine purpose, their true soul's purpose in this life. And conscious communication for conscious creation. Using the power of your voice. You've got three voices: the voice in your head, the voice you speak with, and the voice, God's voice inside you, the voice of your heart. And God of all names, nothing to do with religion. Our divine compass within. And so most people are wasting their lives, and then they stay in this birth-death continuum. And so I have the blueprint to get people out of that. Having observed over 3.5 decades, from the high and mighty, VIPs, celebrities, all on the same journey of life. Your date of birth, your date of death. And what you do in between is supposed to be filled with your purpose. Like if you were to go today, are you ready? Did you fulfill
I don't think anyone will be say. I don't think anybody would say they're ready.
Yeah.
Would they?
Yeah. But that's the opportunity, is to live consciously, so that you're actually fulfilling what you're here to do, and then the rest you can enjoy with whatever time you have. But nobody guarantees that we're going to have a tomorrow. So
too right.
And it also, what it does, like this book is basically a book rebranding death. Death appears as a character. I turned it into a fictional novel. To an author saying, listen, I need your help. I need a rebranding campaign. Will you help me? And she says, listen, I don't even believe in God. I'm the wrong one. And so Death says, you're the perfect one. You'll be my magnum opus. I'm going to take you behind the scenes and show you my real purpose in your life is to awaken you. Have you remember? That's what death is. Wake up. You're supposed to be living on purpose.
Nice. That's fascinating. Well, definitely we can get into that.
Okay, good. But really, with regard to your audience, I want to marry it with your audience are coaches like me and entrepreneurs and leaders. So what it's about with regard to us is, who on earth are you? Who's doing the talking when you're speaking? Until you claim your true self, until you tap in to your inner compass, you're wasting your time. You're wasting your time. You cannot fulfill. So, like, get on the map. Get started, and then, when you have a vision from the future fulfilled, it informs your present. It gives you your now. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so,
makes sense.
If people are, for example, like I help people with confidence, being able to just be themselves, on camera, off camera. A lot of people are concerned about being on camera, and they're going to shoot themselves in the foot with their business because they won't step forward and speak up. And they also don't have a stand for themselves beyond their fears. So the saboteurs step in and run the show, take the mic, and that's what happens. It's not them talking. So it's like minds talking to each other and nobody there. So to be confident in presentation, you actually have to be in the room. Anyway,
right.
the main thing.
Wow.
The main thing I want with you is for you to have an experience when you're talking. If you go in to your life and you look and speak from your heart, that's going to cause magic to happen. Yeah.
That sounds exciting.
And by the way, if you fancy a Vocalize session, leave room for me to tell people where they can reach me, because they can have a one-on-one session just to find your voice, find your confidence, and plug in. Yeah.
Yeah. Please do. Remind me if I get too excited and forget about it at the end.
So let me ask you, if you wanted a major breakthrough in any area of your life, what would it be?
Right.
We should talk.
Making more impact and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
You should come and have a session. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I think we'd have a good time actually communicating. Yeah.
Let's record and we can start the party rolling.
Okay.